Hello, kids. Welcome in. It's just after high noon. May I be the first to say good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well this Monday, April 29, 2024. My name is Matt Murphy. Conveniently enough, this radio show is called The Matt Murphy Show on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. It is our episode 562. 562 of these visits together, and I've loved every... Well, there was one. There was one I didn't care for, but for the most part, I've loved almost every single one of them. We're found on a variety of platforms. Allow me to tell you about that, and we'll get things going and get to the content of the show. We can be found on radio, obviously, 99.7 FM. You can also find us on a variety of streaming platforms. Really, essentially, anywhere where news or music or information is streamed, you can find us. Type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. And you know, that's Spotify and iHeart and all of these different platforms. You can also download our app, and you're invited to do so and take us wherever you go on your smartphone or your laptop. And then there's Supertalk TV, which is up and running on a daily basis from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Supertalk TV on the Matt Murphy Radio Show, brought to you in part by U.S. Pest, brought to you in part by F&M Bank. The F&M Bank chat line is up and running. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. I said it wrong, so I don't know how to say it. If I don't say YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, one way or the other, I participate in these proceedings. You can see my ugly mug. You cannot see the mug of Bel K. He chooses not to participate, though we ask him every day, and he says politely, thank you, but no. But he does give us a title on a daily basis, and today's episode 562 is entitled,
Matt Murphy, one allergy away from second-degree murder.
Tell you what, boy.
Libertarian lunch, noon to 3, ragweed.
So I realized this morning, this morning I realized how bad the allergies had gotten because I took a motorcycle ride yesterday. More on that a little bit later. If you're not exploring some of the Tennessee, some of the topography and the beauty, just the natural beauty of the state, my goodness gracious, I never cease. When I get on a bike and get a little wind therapy, I'm never ceased to be amazed at how beautiful it is. Hold on.
Allergies.
Jeez, Manelli. So I say to Bell when I see him this morning, what is the first thing? Do you remember the first thing I said to you?
I feel like butthole.
That's right. That's what I said. I said I feel like butthole. I don't think I said butthole, but basically.
No, you did. Actually, you did say that, which I thought was odd because it's like you can curse. We're not on the air.
And then it immediately occurred to me that being in a good host-producer relationship is very, very similar to being married. Because I walked through the lower area of the radio station, our suite of, offices and, production area and all of the bit. And I saw a variety of people. I saw Rich, our promotions director. I saw Dave, our sales manager. I saw Allison, our general manager. And to each of them, I smiled and gave a hello. And they said, how are you? And I said, I'm great. How are you? And they said, I'm great. I'm great. Everybody's great. I get upstairs and turn the corners. I feel like butthole. But it's true.
You only tell your wife the truth.
You only tell those that you're truly close to the full story. I feel like because of getting out and about over the weekend. Had a great time at Jeff Roy's meat service on Saturday. Met a lot of you, and thank you for coming out. If you did come out, we appreciate you supporting good local businesses like Roy's Meat Service. And I'm not getting paid anything to do any of this or say any of this. I'm just doing it because I believe in what he's doing. I believe in how he offers up the community spirit that he does, and I hate what's happening to him. If you don't know, Jeff Roy has been an institution in this town he grew up in East Nashville. His grandfather delivered ice to the community. His father was a meat man. He's a meat man. And he bought this store many, many years ago, and he's selling meat, and he's selling prepared foods out of it. And some woman from California moved there 2 years ago and is now suing him because of the smell. Because of the smell of cooking meat. We've told the story on air in the past, and we wanted a day where everybody goes out and enjoys themselves. He's put a new patio out, Belle. I'm sorry that you couldn't be there. So he's got a brand new patio area for outdoor seating.
Considering the weekend I had, I would have preferred to have been there.
You went to a wedding. That's nice.
Complete waste of my time.
So this is good. I mean, when you go to a wedding by yourself, you get what's coming to you.
Well, I was going because she's a friend of mine, and I didn't think it through like I told you, and I saw her for about 5 minutes, which if I had thought about it, that makes sense.
But everyone does this. You did what everyone does.
I know, and I should have thought better of it, though.
Bell realized Bell was going to be out at Roy's meat service. He realized that he had a wedding to go to on Saturday. Where was it? Kentucky?
Yeah, it was in Louisville.
And in your mind, as you related it to me, you're like, oh, I'll get to go. We'll get to catch up. We'll spend some time together. It'll be great to see her.
Yeah, none of that happened.
Well,
I saw her for about 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, she's got a lot going on. But you were there. You supported someone in your friend group, and that's good. Did you get to eat any good food at the reception?
Yeah, actually, the food was pretty good at the reception.
There you go.
I had the chicken.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was it a sit-down or was it a buffet?
No, it was sit down.
Sit down?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I didn't know you knew people with money. That's a... Man, oh, man.
Well, since I don't have any, I like to know people that do.
Speaking of which, when are you coming back over? That's a joke. That is such a joke.
No, it's not. Why is that
it's not a joke that you're coming over. It's a joke that I would insinuate that I have money, which I don't.
Oh, no, but yeah, I've been over your house more than I've been over Mandis's.
Well, yeah. Speaking of going over to coworkers' houses, we were over at the Wilson Saturday night. That was a lot of fun. Had a great time. I mean, in this order, I loved seeing Grogu, Dawn, and a.k.a. Cabana Wife, and Brian. And that's really not casting aspersions at Wilson. I'm sorry. That's just the order. I wish it were not so, Brian, but it is. Grogu, Cabana Wife, and you. And I could really, Grogu and Cabana Wife are really 1A. You could flip-flop that order, but you are a distinct second or third place, depending on how you want to look at it. And no, in all seriousness, we had a great time over visiting the Wilsons in beautiful, beautiful Watertown. Every time I go to that community, I'm reminded of why Brian moved there. And every time I go to that community, Brian reminds me that they're full, that they don't want anybody else. I mean, he did. We were at dinner. I was like, man, I bet there's growing here. He goes, yeah, and people aren't liking it. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, no, because he goes down to the coffee shop and the local bank and all of these things. And I'm like, really? He goes, no. They just want to keep them as far away as possible. I don't know if I'm telling tales out of school, but apparently Wilson on the Drive has been instructed by the townsfolk of Watertown to stop talking about Watertown on a 100,000-watt radio station. There's too many people sniffing around here, Wilson. We don't need any outsiders, from foreign places like Brentwood.
Nashville.
Or Nashville. But it was a really, really good time. And yesterday I chose to ride my bike. So I went through an area. I was trying to get to the old Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, but I didn't get anywhere near there. But I did take a nice ride, that way toward Cookeville, and went up through Carthage. And I want to get this right. I went through Red Boiling Springs. I went through a community called unincorporated community called Difficult, which leads to Defeated. On the road I was on, which was a little 2-lane 56, great motorcycle ride, although there's some potholes. You go from Red Boiling Springs to Difficult to Defeated. And then you get to Carthage.
Those are actually names of places?
No, those are names of town. Defeated is Defeated Creek. I don't know why. I haven't looked it up.
Somebody lost a battle there.
I mean, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what you assume, right? But what I like is that Difficult is right before Defeated. So I wonder if those names...
they should change the name to Very Difficult.
Well, maybe that's the area between Difficult and Defeated. There's Difficult, Very Difficult, and we give up. Crap. It's too hard. You win, we lose. It is gorgeous, though. All right, let's get things going. Obviously, I've got something to say about Governor Kristi Noem. I made my thoughts and feelings clear on social media over the weekend. If you want to see some of those thoughts and feelings, if you're not following me, by all means, at Matt Murphy Show. That's at Matt Murphy Show. I'm often wrong. I'm never in doubt about these matters. I feel very passionately about these things. I feel very passionately about all of the things that we talk about on the radio show. I mean, even if it's a fun topic that we're having a good time with, I'm passionate about that too. But when it comes to matters that I believe affect you or your family, when it comes to defending the liberties and freedoms as set forth by our founding fathers in this country, when it comes to protecting individual liberty, and when it comes to those things that I happen to be passionate about in my personal life, obviously you're going to get a dose of that. Now, if you are going to like me or my show, then you are going to respect that sometimes we fall on the wrong side of some of these issues that I'm very passionate about. Sometimes we disagree. Understanding that and understanding when I'm your bulldog, when I'm on that bone for you on an issue that you care about, you want me on that bone, you need me on that bone. But it doesn't feel so good if you're on the other side of an issue with me. And I get that, and I'm working on it. I'm 50, I'm working on it. That said, with regard to Kristi Noem and everything that came out regarding a passage of her book in which she killed her dog, I am not about, given my life experience, to sit here and be lectured by any of you about what life is like on a farm, or what life is like growing up poor, or what life is like with a bunch of yard dogs, or what life is like having to put down a dog. What I am fascinated about are the amount of people that, because of her politics, are coming to her defense about her character. And the only reason you're doing it is because she's on your side politically. I understand that, but that's how Democrats operate. That's how liberals work. Let's be better than them, shall we? Let's set certain standards about how we expect to lead our lives. Let's set certain standards about how we expect life to be led in 2024. That doesn't mean that you don't have to do bad things. That doesn't mean that I think Kristi Noem is a horrible, terrible person, although I don't know.
I do.
There's no excuse. And I heard a lot of excuse making over and by the way, none of us know the full story because, to my knowledge, none of us have read the book. I've not gotten an advance copy of the book. Have you? I've not had a sit down with Governor Kristi Noem. A lot of people that were defending her over the weekend were going way beyond what excerpts in the book we have had released to us with regard to what happened. Well, this was a vicious dog attacking what? What? Where have you read that? It killed a chicken. Well, you gotta do what you gotta do. And look. Some are asking, why are you criticizing a conservative? Because they need to be criticized. Because we're better than leftists. That's number one. Number two, there's a difference between this and a policy disagreement. I believe this goes to someone's character. It goes to her character that she chose to handle the situation in the way that she did, and it goes to her character that she then 20 years later thought it would be a good idea to brag about it in her book to demonstrate how good of a leader she is. You know what a good leader would have done? Trained the dog. There is no dog, virtually no dog, that is untrainable. And I say virtually because I understand the exceptions prove the rule. And some are far more trouble than they're worth, and I get that too. But there are plenty of other options before you get to option 9 or 10 or 11, kill the dog. And by the way, I say to you, if you name it, it's not just a farm dog. I've been around farm dogs. I've been around coon dogs, okay? I've been around pack dogs. They didn't have names. So I am very passionate about the issue. I understand it's very emotional for other people. It's pretty cut and dry for me. But most importantly to me, this is a matter of decision making right now. Who in your inner circle did you object? Did no one raise a hand? Did no editor raise a hand? Did nobody in your inner circle raise a hand and say, maybe this isn't the way you want to characterize this story? Maybe this isn't a story that we necessarily want to highlight in the book. Maybe, even though it's honest, and even though it's real, and even though you can spin it any way you want, maybe if we put this passage in the book, it's going to overwhelm the rest of the book. Maybe we look a few steps down the road and recognize what's going to happen, or maybe you don't care. Maybe you think the rest of America's running around shooting dogs like that. Once again, I'm not going to be lectured to by anybody about my life experience regarding animals and working farms. My grandfather had 3 hunting dogs when I was a kid. He had Old Joe, Bob, and Satan. I was bit by 2 of the 3. We called him Satan because he's a black lab.
That was his actual name, though?
My brother named him.
Oh.
I don't know why. Joe was a great bird dog, great quail dog, great dove dog, great blind dog, Joe would do anything. Joe was whistle trained. Bob was whistle trained too. Satan was not trainable at all. And guess what my grandfather did? Shot him and killed. No, he didn't actually. He gave him away because Satan was untrainable. This happened. My grandfather would take tennis balls. I remember him attempting to train Satan. And Old Joe was the best, man. And Bob was like a spaniel type dog. Joe was a pointer, and Satan was a Labrador. And he took tennis balls, and he would kill birds, and he would attach the wings of the birds on tennis balls as a method by which to teach. And then he would take the tennis ball and attach the tennis ball to this. I don't know if people do it this way or not. This is the way I watched my grandfather do it when I was a young kid, and I thought that it was pretty good. He would take the tennis ball, attach wings to the tennis ball to associate smell with the tennis ball, and then he would take the tennis ball and take a really, really strong high-test fishing line and take a fishing rod, and he would attach the tennis ball to the fishing rod, and then he would throw the tennis ball way out into the field, and then Joe and Bob would sit there. Satan would act like an idiot and lick himself, and he would tell Joe to go get it or tell Bob to go get it, and depending on who he told to go get it, they would go get it. Training. So I've been around the block with hunting dogs. We were good friends with a lot of people that had coon dogs. My granddad never really liked coon hunting, so we didn't do a lot of that. I just want to make sure that you understand that people can feel strongly about this and still have life experience that you say would dictate that, well, if you understood this, you would understand killing the dog. No, I don't. The dog was not actively attacking other human beings, was not actively attacking other animals. Period. The end of the story. I understand the dog killed a chicken. I understand the dog didn't do what the dog was supposed to do on the pheasant hunt. That's when you give the dog away. That's when you rehome the dog. That's when you spend a little of your money and get a dog trainer to do what you can't do. That's when you take the dog to the damn pound and allow the dog to be put to death that way. What you don't do is decide on your way home that you better go ahead and get the shotgun out and put a hole through the dog's head with the brains bleeding out on the gravel pit. Oh, and while we're here, might as well go ahead and kill a goat for apparently just being a goat. And better do it before the kids come home because, as related in the book, when the kids got home, the kid said, "Where's Cricket?" If the kid is asking for the dog isn't that vicious, by the way. The dog's a puppy that doesn't know any better. That's my take on that. I didn't mean to get off on that right now. I meant to do this. I want to know if we have any leftist in the listening audience that can explain to me what the phrase Free Palestine means. I'll explain the nature of the question next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey friends, Matt Murphy for Defend Systems. Brink Fiddler developed Defend Systems as an active shooter and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee. Who do they help? They help people just like you. They help people who are decision makers at a school, corporations, healthcare facilities, law firms, manufacturing facilities, corporate headquarters, entertainment venues, country music tours, and so much more. They have consulted on security design and readiness for VIP residential projects, multiple corporate facilities, commercial buildings, and several schools. They provide custom protection solutions that are unique to your particular location, your security issue, or your facility. God forbid something like this happened to you, and the odds are very, very low that they would. But if you have an active shooter, what do? If you have workplace violence, what do? If you don't know the answer to the question, if you don't know if your team understands what to do in a medical situation that needs fast-paced action, then you need to call Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems, because hope is not a plan. It's time to get trained with Defend Systems. 615-236-6484, 236-6484, 236-6484 for Defend Systems. Would you like to look better and feel better about yourself? We Grow Hair is the only company in the state of Tennessee to have PAI's multi-unit hair grafting procedure. And friends, I am proud to be talking to you about them. PAI Medical and We Grow Hair. Did you know that you can do something to prevent potential hair loss later on in life right now? Men can lose up to 50% of your hair before you actually notice it. So I had a little bit of thinning around the crown of my head. Not a lot, but it was something that I wanted to make sure that I took care of. And so We Grow Hair got me on their FDA-approved laser treatments, making my hair thicker and fuller and to prevent hair loss. And as you can obviously see if you're watching on Super Talk TV, it is absolutely working. Whether you're just beginning to lose your hair or you've been losing your hair for a while now, We Grow Hair is the only clinic that can help all stages of hair loss, and they have proven medical solutions. Their trademark procedure, the multi-unit hair grafting and ARTIS robotic FUE hair transplant procedure, results are guaranteed. Let me say it again. Results are guaranteed. Call today at 615-376-6010, 376-6010, or WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com. Supertalk 99.7 WTN. You're invited to be a part of the show. I promise I won't yell at you, especially if you disagree with me on the Kristi Noem thing. But, I mean, it is what it is. It is a coming together of politics and societal issues or cultural issues. And a lot of people have a lot of hardline feelings about the matter. And I appreciate that. 615-737-9986, either via super text line or on the phone lines, obviously up and running. For example, Kristi Noem had a difficult decision to make, writes 1382. Made it, did not shirk her personal responsibility. That dog could never be trusted after its behavior. Next on the menu could have been a neighbor's toddler. A true experienced dog person would understand. I am a true experienced dog person, and I disagree with you. There were many opportunities and many options to rehabilitate or to rehome the animal. Let me tell you, and this is going to be hard for you people that don't have a problem with this to understand, but I'm going to say it anyway because I don't care. I mean, I love you. I love you to death, but it is what it is. Kristi Noem took the easy path, not the hard one. Oh, it was hard for her, Matt. You got it. No. She took the easy option. The easy thing to do was to kill the dog. The harder thing to do was to get the dog to a better place, to get the dog to a shelter. And if you cared about the life of the dog, and if you cared at all, well, I almost said something. I don't want to go there. Some people are saying, what about the innocent life that is killed every day with abortion? Well, I don't think Kristi Noem is in favor of abortions, and I'm not either. I think I'm being fairly consistent. 7597 says, I had a dog that bit a neighbor great years ago, took him to the vet. The vet insisted that he was put down. There were other behaviors that were negative as well. The vet told me that if my dog bit someone and he was deposed and courted, be forced to testify, I was instructed to euthanize the dog. I have no choice. Yes, I understand that there are many circumstances by which an animal bites a child. If an animal's attacking a child, you kill the animal. If an animal's actively attacking livestock, you kill the animal. I get that. That's not what happened here. Everyone's kind of making up stories to retrofit into the story Kristi Noem told for the purpose of making it better for Kristi Noem. The story is what it is, and why she chose to tell it is beyond me. $62.11 says, you love us to death, but not like Kristi's dog. No, not like Kristi's dog. I wouldn't do that to you. I would rehabilitate you. That's what I try to do on a day-to-day basis. I could put you guys down, but I don't. I work to rehabilitate you, and then if necessary, to shelter you. That shelter is called Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis. You know, I don't even know what that means, but it's funny. It's 12:33 on Super Talk. All right, USS, they guarantee their best. What does that mean, they guarantee their best at USS? Well, you know, some of these companies that purport to be waterproofing companies or foundation companies, they're kind of fly-by-night guys. They swoop in, they upsell you on stuff that you really don't quite need, and then they swoop out, and they never really do the job the right way. Well, United Structural Systems has been around since 1994. That is 30 years now. 25,000 satisfied customers in that amount of time. And friends, let me tell you, these customers, when you read some of the testimonials available for you at USSTN.com, you recognize these guys know what they're doing, and they ultimately save you a tremendous amount of money and give you peace of mind. Why is your foundation settling or sinking? Why do you have that musty or nasty smelling basement or crawl space? If these are questions that have ever crossed your mind, why is my concrete cracking and sinking? Let's call USS today and get answers to these many questions. 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. Coming up in just a few moments, what is meant by the phrase Free Palestine? I've been asking this question for some weeks now, if not months now. I know I first asked it several months ago, and I never got an appropriate answer. What are we talking about when we're saying Free Palestine? Where we're hearing it a lot on college campuses, where some of these campuses have sadly devolved into chaos because you're not dealing with these individuals with a somewhat firm hand. Freedom of speech is one thing that's obviously protected by the Constitution of the United States in these public spaces, on these public universities, particularly, and even in these private universities, although they have a little more latitude to create their own rules. But what you cannot do is actively intimidate, threaten, or discriminate against other people, and you cannot prevent them from utilizing the same public and open spaces that you yourself are utilizing. There's a difference. We are not criminalizing hate speech. I am a freedom of speech advocate. I'm in the free speech business. And I always believe that the answer to bad speech is more speech. Now, that does not mean that you can't say anything and everything you want. If you're directly inciting to riot, if you're directly putting people in a health panic or in direct harm's way, if you're putting the public health in danger, then you're going to be limited in what you can or cannot say. But that's always an after-the-fact scenario, and that's only in limited circumstances. This is not about limiting speech. It's about something quite different, as we've seen on these college campuses over the last week or so. Columbia is now saying that the students have by 2 p.m. Eastern time to clear the encampment or they will be suspended. That's great. You should do that. You have every right in the world to do that if you're Columbia. If they are in violation of the rules, they're in violation of the rules. So we'll talk about that a little bit. What is meant by the phrase Free Palestine? Oh, I could have moved. You could have told me to move. I would have moved. Bell K resetting my camera over here. And we'll deal with that coming up in just a moment. Chris is in Nashville with a thought on Governor Kristi Noem. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great.
Hey, yeah, I was thinking about that. I grew up on a farm, but we've always had multiple dogs. Now, the one thing I have found is that you have to figure out how to train the dog depending on its personality and what it was actually bred for. And once you can do that, you can train that dog.
Yes, sir. I'm listening.
And, or the other option would have been to find somebody that needed that type of dog and pass it along to them. The last option, which happens, especially when I was a young man in Mississippi, there were people that would have to shoot their dogs if, as you discussed earlier, that they had attacked cattle or chickens or what have you, because once they get that blood taste in their mouth, then it's all on.
Well, look, obviously, things change over decades, and, a lot of folks are coming to Governor Kristi Noem's defense, and thank you for the call, Chris, by saying that this was 20 years ago. 20 years ago was 2004. Look, I understand that in 1974 or 1984 even, or even beyond that, especially if you live in the rural areas of South Dakota, that there might be a situation where you have to put a dog down. But that should be, killing a dog should be a last case scenario. Look is this political destruction for Kristi Noem? I have no idea. I think that here's what I would say to you. If her goal was to just be really honest and clean and on the record, and she felt for whatever reason compelled to tell this story in her book, which I've not read, which you've not read, and that's one thing too. Context is important in all of this. We have read excerpts. In some cases, we've probably read excerpts from organizations that don't really like Kristi Noem. So I'm leery of that before I put final judgment on this. But to me, based on what we have seen and what we have read, there's no excuse. To me, and look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, folks. Opinions, as my grandma used to say, are like elbows. Everybody's got a couple. Unless you only have one arm, and then, anyway. Point being, I don't think good people do not make a decision to take a dog out and shoot a dog in a gravel pit because the dog is untrainable or because the dog killed a chicken. That's just me. Good people do not decide 20 years later that it would be a good idea to include this story in a book because this demonstrates such leadership, an ability to make hard decisions. Well, I think you circumvented the hard decisions and you went to the easy decision. That's what I think. What I would have liked to have seen is a discussion about how it would have been acceptable to kill the dog, but we chose not to because we really believed that there could be some rehabilitation, that life matters, and that this dog had value to someone else. Perhaps not on our farm, not on the Noem farm, but on someone's farm. And so we found a loving couple or a loving family or a dog trainer or a dog shelter that was willing to take it in and do the things necessary to rehabilitate the animal. That's my take. I don't know if we thought that Kristi Noem was going to be a possibility for vice president. At this point, that's off the table. And I don't really care what you think about this. And here's what I mean by that. No matter what you personally believe, let me assure you of this. The people that Donald Trump needs to vote for him don't like this. Bell, if I were to ask you, what category of voter does Donald Trump need most, and what can he accomplish best out of a vice presidential pick? If I were just to say, what demographic of voter do you think he really needs to bring in to make sure he solidifies that vote to guarantee victory?
Women.
Women. That is correct, sir. More specifically, suburban soccer mom women.
Right, yeah.
How do suburban soccer mom women react to this Kristi Noem story?
Not positively.
Not
by any
positively.
stretch.
Not even close. Whatever you dudes are thinking about it out there, all of you guys that are sitting there, you don't know nothing about no farm. Shut up. You don't know what my background is. But that said, from a political perspective, it would be foolish to select her now as a vice presidential candidate. I don't care what her politics are. Politics at its most essence is about getting more votes than the other guy. That's it. And if you can't, and a vice presidential pick is designed to do the things the presidential candidate can't necessarily do. Now, I believe suburban soccer moms are going to vote for Donald Trump anyway because of inflation, because they go to the grocery store every day, because they see the crime in the major cities, they watch the news. I believe that those things are happening regardless of who the vice presidential selection is. And frankly, I think we, every 4 years, spend a little bit too much time focusing laboriously on who the VP pick will be when really it's all about the presidential candidate. It's all about Trump. Trump is what everyone else orbits around in this political solar system. However, whatever that vice presidential candidate can do, they need to do. And this hurts you where you need it most. Dave says, Matt, everyone knows about your background. You've told everyone, LOL. I don't know the whole story, so I can't agree one way or the other. Well, Kristi says buy her book. She'll let you know. Dave, for you and anyone else who doesn't understand the full story, let me just say that she tells the story of this dog, Cricket, that she described as a family dog. Everyone else is now saying it's a farm dog or whatever. That's regardless. It was a hunting dog. And they took the dog out on this one particular hunt, and the dog was causing a ruckus. She, in her own words, said, the dog was having a time of his life, ruining everything for the rest of us. So I want to focus in on that phrase, the dog was having the time of his life. That indicates to me the dog was not angry and aggressive and mean and vicious. The dog was playing. The dog was not doing what the dogs were trained to do with regard to the hunt. So it was ruining the hunt. So Kristi Noem got mad because the dog ruined the hunt. Then on the way back home, the dog killed a chicken. Or at some point, the dog killed a chicken. Dog was named Cricket, by the way. And so Kristi Noem says in her book that she made a decision that she was going to take the dog out and kill the dog. The dog wasn't actively attacking anything or anyone. She took the dog to a gravel pit and shot it and killed it. And then decided, I guess this was more of a spur-of-the-moment thing, that she was going to kill a goat, too. 3747 says, can Dan Mandis bring back Ralph Bristol? I don't think that's a complimentary super text. I don't think on the membersnutrition.com super text, I don't think they're being complimentary.
Why would he do that? That would mean he wouldn't have a job.
I think I'm assuming 7347 means to put into my slot.
Oh, no.
Ralph would not lower himself to go on middays.
No.
Why would you insult Ralph Bristol like that?
That's just mean.
Larry's in Clarksville with a thought on all of this. Hello, Larry. How are you, sir?
Hey, brother, I'm hanging in there.
Good.
You know, they're, Hank, listen, that goat made me so mad after knocking my rear end over. Yeah, I punched him right between the eyes a couple of times, and he would just shake his head and come at me again. And there were times I would love to have put a bullet in between his eyes, but I did not. I rehomed him. And that's what she should have done with this dog. Hank now has 13 girlfriends, and he's got 9 kids, and he don't have to pay a damn bit of child support. you tell me who's living the life.
Hank.
Yeah, exactly. Listen. I love you, brother, and I love your show. You hit a lot of points, and we have to win this election. We have to.
No, I agree. I mean, no, everything. I know we've said it in the past. I think we rested a little bit on our laurels in 2020, and I think, if we shift back to electioneering and politicking during an election year for a moment, I would say this to your call, Larry. We understood the importance in 2016. I think we got a little full of ourselves in 2020, considering the good job that Donald Trump did, even against the enormous tide of aggression from the Democrats and made up stories and made up narratives from Russian collusion and everything else. Donald Trump still managed to do so much. And in the face of that, I think there was a general feeling that Donald Trump would secure re-election fairly easily. And then COVID came along, and then COVID voting came along, and then the other shenanigans came along, and we see what we got in 2020. I think we've woken our eyes to all of this. However, I think the other side is awake as well. The other side understands what they have to do to win, too, and it ain't good. And we have to be ever vigilant against that this time around. Everything hinges on 2024. If the Democrats win the presidency, the odds are they're going to control the House of Representatives and the Senate. I perish the thought of them controlling 2 of the 3 branches of government. And then I remind myself to thank the stars and the heavens above that Donald Trump was there to nominate the 3 Supreme Court justices that he did to attempt to blanch that should it happen. 615-737-9986. More of your calls coming up. Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy for U.S. Pest and U.S. Pest Protection. Here's the deal, folks. We might have a robust discussion about pets and animals and that sort of thing, but I think most of us agree that you need to keep the creepy crawlies out of your house, and it's creepy crawly season. Whether it's spiders, roaches, other types of bugs and pests that they want inside of your home. It's nice and comfortable in there, and you need to keep them out, and you do so by calling the gang at U.S. Pest. I had a great visit from Jesse the other day. What a professional young man he was, talking to me about some of the opportunities that U.S. Pest offers in my community in Mount Juliet. They get rid of roaches. They get rid of mosquitoes. They get rid of spiders. They get rid of other creepy crawlies like ticks. The 3 most common type of ticks, as a matter of fact, deer tick, Lone Star tick, American dog tick. Besides being a bother, they carry a lot of disease, like Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. You need to get rid of these ticks. And if you have animals, then you need to do your due diligence. And call U.S. Pest. They're the one name in the business that I would recommend. Call J.K., Erica, and the rest of the team at U.S. Pest. 590-1260. That's 615-590-1260 or uspest.com. uspest.com.
Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
I'm going to give it away. We're going to do TikTok today.
Oh, TikTok or talk? Okay.
TALK.
Spring is here. Today we're going to talk about ticks. Bugs are coming out. Unfortunately, ticks are coming out. People are going to be out in the woods. First, the types of ticks.
American dog tick, the black-legged deer tick, the Lone Star tick. We've got a Gulf Coast tick. Got a new one coming in, the longhorn tick. These are the ones we need to watch out for. 75% of vector transmitted diseases now are from ticks. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, rickelosis, tularemia, Lyme disease, almost flu-like, gonna run a fever. You may or may not get a rash in the saliva. They secrete the cement to glue themselves in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great.
So you need to get some tweezers, get down on that capitulum and grab it and pull the tick off. Do not grab the body. A lot of people think ticks drop out of trees. They don't drop out of trees. And they can't jump. And they can't fly.
So they're in the leaves, on the plants and things.
On the grass,
on the
leaves of the grass. And they do this number with their front legs. And that's called questing. They are sensing a prey item coming by. They'll take those legs and latch on and then crawl up.
And then there you go. You're
Wow.
battling it.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you finishing up an hour. We've got many of your calls to come. Plus my question on the table. What do these leftists mean on college campuses around the United States of America when they yell Free Palestine? I think I know, and I'll share it with you momentarily. Plus more of your calls, plus Jody Barrett, House of Representatives member, to talk about the session that was. That's up next. Here we are, and here we go. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There we go. Glad to have you back with us, whether you're listening on radio, 99.7 FM, perhaps you're listening on a downloadable app. We appreciate that. Maybe on a streaming platform of your choosing, or if you're watching on Super Talk TV, I apologize doubly for what you're seeing this hour. Because normally you see me, and that's bad enough, but now we got Jody Barrett in the studio, and man, oh man, it just gets worse. I kid because
the man came in proper. That's all I got to say.
Oh, that's right. He looks good.
Came in proper.
He looks good. He looks like he came just right off the
like
golf
a
course.
man.
We were just talking. By the way, hello, Representative.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great.
You had no intention of talking about this, and if you don't want to talk about it, just tell me you don't want to talk about it. But you were just telling me. I had no idea that you had. I was like, you look like you just came off the golf course. And you said, well, I kind of did. And then you started telling me about this business you have, which I knew nothing about. I'm fascinated about. Tell the audience about this.
Yeah. Free advertising. I love this. So I am.
No. We're
I'll get the bill later.
You'll get the bill later.
I am a co-owner of the Amateur Players Tour. That's amateurplayerstour.com for those that are wanting to go check it out. And it's a nationwide amateur competitive golf league. And so we have chapters all over the country. We have one right here in Nashville with about 240, 250 members. They'll play about 12 to 15 events here locally. And then we also put on national major events all over the country. So if you like to travel and play too, you have the opportunity to do that.
So it's a way for you to, scratch that itch of competition. Maybe you're past your prime. Maybe you never had a prime.
Right.
You flight people according to their abilities, according to their handicaps, and you give them an opportunity to compete in a tournament just like we watch on television.
Sure. And all ranges of ability. So we've got 5 different divisions. So we'll have scratch guys that are out there, 0, 1, 2, 3 handicaps that are trying to kill each other. And then you get the guys that are, struggling to break 90 or 95, and they're equally as competitive amongst themselves. And so,
it's fun.
I'll tell you what, we're strongly veteran based. Actually, we get a ton of veterans that want to come out and play and get that competitive spirit going. We've got a great relationship with Folds of Honor that we've raised over $100,000 for them last year for their charity. So and it's the fastest growing amateur golf tour in the country.
That's excellent. I had no idea that you had this going on as your side. You learn something new every day, Jody.
Keep things on the down low,
Well, I like that. Let's talk about the session that was. And by the way, if you're holding on the line to talk about Kristi Noem, maybe Jody has an idea about what he thinks about Kristi Noem, but we're going to hold off on that. But you're welcome to stay there, and we'll get back to the subject coming up in just a couple of minutes. What's the best thing that came out of this legislative session?
For me personally, or the legislature in general?
Just what comes to mind when I ask that question?
Well, I obviously being a little bit selfish and focused on what I was working on. The 2 biggest things that I was able to get accomplished this year that I'm very happy and proud of was the red flag preemption bill that really keeps it to where the red flag laws and extreme risk protection orders are going to have to originate at the state legislature level. So we're not going to have 40 different ERPOs across the state where gun owners aren't going to know what the law is, where they go from district to district or county to county.
I was a little worried about the legislation, but it got through.
Yeah. Had a lot of good support on that.
Has the governor signed it yet?
Not yet. I think I had 40 House co-sponsors on that one, so a lot of folks signed off on. Janice Bowling did a great job in the Senate pushing that through.
And just for those that don't know about it, it just makes sure that communities don't try to sneak in and set different standards. And it would be just such a hodgepodge and such confusion.
Sure.
That you feel like that this should be set at the state level and it should be uniform across the state.
I do, and it's timely as well with what the Biden administration is doing with their extreme risk resource center that they've created just in the last couple of months. That is their stated goal now, is to do an end around state legislatures that they cannot work with because they're Republican in nature, to try to get into the city level and municipal and county level to try to get them the resources they need. And just like the federal government always does, they float some money out there through a grant money or something along those lines and say, hey, we'll give you this cash if you adopt this ordinance or this type of law for your local community.
By the way, I just noticed this. I want to make note of it. I meant to do this, but we started talking about golf. That 2:00 deadline was an Eastern deadline on this Columbia University deal. The administration at Columbia has botched this deal from the beginning. Sadly, they did not learn their lessons from other campuses around the country as to how to disperse a crowd like this, and the protesters are now defying this 2 p.m. Eastern deadline to leave the encampment, and so hopefully all of them currently enrolled at Columbia will be summarily suspended, and once you're suspended, then you need to get off campus. So one way or the other, it looks like they're going to clear that. So I just wanted to make note of that. It's breaking news that's happening right now. One of the pieces of legislation that you and I briefly texted about that I don't think we got accomplished for some reason in the Senate was 2159. Do I have that right?
Yep, that's right.
Describe to the listening audience what this legislation would do.
So 2159 and 2160 were two pieces of tandem legislation that I worked together with AFA Action out of Tupelo, Mississippi. On the 2160 was age verification, which we passed an age verification law this year, and the two bills were different. Mine was focused on the consumer protection civil side of things to be able to allow folks to bring a civil lawsuit for that. And the law that we passed, Patsy Hazelwood in the House was the House sponsor, and I believe Senator Massey was the Senate sponsor. That got passed. That was focused on the criminal aspect of that and creating a criminal cause of action. And so 2159 was an obscenity bill that said it created a private right of action for any citizen in the state to be able to sue someone that caused damages to them based on a violation of the criminal obscenity code that we have, which currently in Tennessee it is against the law to prepare, distribute, deliver, display any obscene materials in the state of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And so what I was trying to do, what we've seen is district attorneys are loath somewhat to bring those types of cases. They're difficult cases to prove. The burden of proof is really high on a criminal side of things. And so opening that up to the private citizen to be able to go after damages for when they've been exploited or one of their family members have been exploited so that they don't have to sit around and wait for a district attorney to do that for them. So you and I might, and you might be able to explain it to me, we might see these things a little bit differently, and that's fine if we do, but I think about the civil liberties involved in anything like this, and a key aspect for me and a key aspect for some others in the body was that you did not require a criminal conviction in order for someone to civilly sue. And I'm curious to walk me through. I mean, you're an attorney. Walk me through how that works. If I've not been found criminally liable of violating the criminal statute, you're going to come at me from a civil perspective, and what do? Don't you have to prove in civil court that I violated the criminal statute, a criminal statute that I've not been charged with? So there's a different standard of evidence that you have to prove, or a different burden of proof. So on the civil side of things, you only have to prove it by preponderance of the evidence. In the criminal side, you have to have beyond a reasonable doubt. Sure. And so there's not another area of the law in the criminal code that requires a conviction in order to have a civil cause of action. So if we required a conviction in order to pursue civil remedies against someone, then OJ would have never had to pay out a civil penalty. I was wondering, because the obvious example is O.J. Simpson, right? How does this work in the real world? I'm trying to think of a scenario that your legislation would correct or would give affirmative action to an individual that has been damaged. Can you help me? So probably the easiest way to spell it out, and an example that I use when talking to some of my other members in the legislature is, I've got daughters. Fortunately, they're a little bit older now, but say they were 15, 16, 17-year-old daughters with a boyfriend that they, for some reason or another, made a bad decision, gave some pictures to him they shouldn't have given. Okay. Those pictures somehow or another end up out into the ether on the internet and end up on a website, and you find out about them, or she finds out about them. Friends start sending Snapchats to her, or whatever the case may be. Social media being what it is today with the kids. And the way my bill was written, that would be a violation of the law, because child pornography is part of obscenity. And so that's the other part here, is pornography is different than obscenity. Mm-hmm. Pornography has First Amendment value. There's some protections. There's some protections there. Obscenity, there's no protections whatsoever. And so obscene materials, which includes the child pornography. So that's why I use this example, because in that situation, if the way the Senate amended my bill to try to create a cause of action only if there's a criminal conviction, you would have to wait through that entire criminal process, maybe years, in order to be able to bring a civil suit against that website or whoever it is that's posting this picture out there that you've been able to find. And so I just didn't think that that was the way that it needed to work, that citizens need to be able to have, particularly parents need to have the ability to get into court quickly and try to get this stuff out of the world.
Does it involve like peer-to-peer, personal?
It could, because if you go back and look at, we're talking about distribution, manufacturing of obscene materials, all that stuff. So yeah, if you read the way that the criminal code is, it could be a violation.
I mean, so, and I know I'm picking nits. No,
Sure.
I mean, trust me, I understand that. But in your example, if everybody's 16, right, that's child pornography by definition. And so I would think, I mean, if I have the ability to sue you as a family because your son showed photos of my daughter around, I mean, is that too much? Is that a step too far? Do we make exceptions for those folks, or do we say, look, this is the serious nature of what we're dealing with. You need to take it as seriously as we possibly can.
Right. Well, I think what you have to do, though, is go back to what the original intent of the criminal code was. The code that we have in Tennessee that makes it a crime to distribute obscene materials was aimed at the actual manufacturers, the distributors, the companies that are involved in these processes, not the individual person that just happens to have a
So your focus, right?
deal.
Your focus is less on the peer-to-peer exchanges that violate the obscenity laws, and more so those platforms that would elevate it to the point that the general public can see it.
Correct.
What exceptions did the Senate have with this?
Well,
because for those who don't know, I don't want to bury the lead, but it did not pass the Senate. Right?
It did not. We had 74. No, on this one, I think we had 39 co-sponsors on this one. 39 co-sponsors in the House side, and breezed through to get through the House. We had 73 votes to pass it on the House side, and somewhere along the way on the Senate, my Senate sponsor Paul Rose out of Covington, and then the chairman of that committee, Todd Gardenhire, decided to put an amendment on it to change it to where the cause of action only accrues when there is a criminal conviction. The only explanation I got for that, and again, part of this is a breakdown of communication. There wasn't nobody came to me and said, "Hey, do you mind if we amend your bill?" There was no discussion about that. But the only explanation I got after the fact was, "Well, hey, we're worried about some frivolous lawsuits." To which I said, "Okay, well, let's change a couple of things. We'll put a couple of words in there: knowingly and intentionally violation, or a knowingly and intentional violation of the law then would create a cause of action." And then we put an exception in there as well, or I agreed to put an exception in there for the carrier, so that Meta and Google and those folks that are worried about getting sued by everybody, that they would not be liable. They're not the ones producing it. Just because it ends up on their platform doesn't make them liable.
They're not editors. They're not editors of content. They're
Correct.
just a platform. Right?
And so that takes the deep pockets out of the way for the trial lawyers to go after to try to create.
Sure.
And still, I was not able to get the folks on the Senate side of things. We ended up in a conference committee trying to work the details out of it. And, Senator John Stevens and I tried to sort through this. And for whatever reason, he was just concerned that the trial lawyers were going to make a bunch of money off of this, and it was going to cost these distributors of obscene materials a bunch of money having to defend frivolous lawsuits, to which I say, great.
Well, and you make the distinction, and it gets a little tricky to describe on radio, but the differences between pornographic materials, which have been deemed permissible by the Supreme Court, and obscene materials, which goes back to the old community standards.
Correct.
I don't know what the specific details of the law says regarding what is obscenity and what's not obscenity, but it's defined.
Sure.
And you're not supposed to be promoting or disseminating obscene material anyway. Pornographic material is a different subject. I mean, I know that it's seedy for a lot of our listeners, but it is permissible obscene materials, that's where you're starting to violate the law.
Correct. And again, there's a a federal definition of what obscenity is, and then there's also the Miller test through the Supreme Court case that establishes that as well.
Are you bringing it back up, I assume? I think this is something that you'll work on with the Senate for next session.
100% intend to bring this back. And this goes back to how I even decided to get into the race to begin with and run for this seat. 2 years ago, my friend John Rich kind of came to me and said, hey, man, we got a problem up here with this librarians pornography bill with what's going on in the school libraries. And it didn't get passed, and I need somebody in there that's going to fight for this. And so, that kind of got my attention on this particular issue and how we can address things at the state level. And so now that I'm here and I'm working on something along those lines, and I see some of the same actors that didn't back that bill 2 years ago kind of be problems for, speed bumps for a bill that should have probably passed without any issues this time. It's a little frustrating, but it's eye-opening as well.
And I know John, who I know is a good friend, and I would like to consider John a friend of mine at this point in the game, but he came out over the weekend and specifically identified how this could repair school-based issues. It's not a school-specific piece of legislation, right?
Yeah, no, it's not focused on schools at all. Now, unless a school...
but obviously when it comes to underage pornography, it might have an impact.
Right. If a school employee or someone is promoting, producing, distributing this stuff, then that they could potentially be in violation of the law.
Do the individuals, and this is kind of where, get it down to where the goats can graze on it. I'm going to use that. Do the individual librarians or the individual people that are at the point of, the point of action, I don't want to say the point of distribution, but, those that are in control of the libraries, for example, sometimes they don't have any control over what books are behind them.
Right.
I mean, they ought to be able to control, especially with age-specific materials, who's receiving them. But, I mean, are you fearful at all that we might catch someone up in a net that doesn't need to be caught because they're just hamstrung by what the Board of Education made? Decisions.
No, I'm not fearful of that. And here's the reason why. We have somewhat of a precedent when you look at the old tobacco lawsuits. The tobacco lawsuits were going after the actual manufacturers that were producing and distributing the cigarettes and going after them as the main bad actors. They weren't going after the clerks in the convenience stores that are selling it to people. And so that's the difference here.
So we're not going after Sally the librarian who, mistakenly gave somebody some material that they shouldn't have.
No,
we're maybe going after those people that are getting the materials in the schools.
But if there's a publisher out there that's publishing these books and distributing out to every school system in the state of Tennessee or a large number of school systems in the state of Tennessee, and we find that the materials that they're distributing violate our community standards and don't have any academic or artistic value, then yes, then we ought to be able to go after those folks.
615-737-9986 is our telephone number and the Members Nutrition Super Text line. We have Jody Barrett in for at least another segment. It's 124 on Super Talk 99.7. Charlie Daniels' Journey Home Project, what a joy it is to remind you that it has been 10 years since Charlie Daniels' Journey Home Project was first started. How about that? The Charlie Daniels' Journey Home Project is celebrating their 10th anniversary, but much work still to be done. Charlie Daniels and David Corlew, I never had the honor of meeting Charlie Daniels, but I've had the honor of having David in studio many different times, and he's told me about the genesis of how they started the project. They wanted to do something for our veterans, and they recognized that there was such a gap between service life and reintegration into civilian life, and they wanted to bridge that gap by finding good organizations that could facilitate that, and they've done just that. Working in tandem with these organizations, the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project makes a difference in the lives of the American people and American patriots. Things like health, both mental and physical, education, employment, just a few of the issues that our returning veterans face when they come back from the battlefields. We still see them, and we still see those issues, and there's still much work to be done. I beg of you to give as you can to the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. What a wonderful organization. I'm so proud to be affiliated with them. Celebrate 10 years of the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project by going to cdjhp.org. That's Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project.org. Stop by and join today. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy, Jody Barrett, and you, Representative Barrett. Oh, gosh, I'm going to forget. It's 50-something, isn't it? Isn't it 50? No, it's 60-something. What is your, hold on, let me get your,
there we go. We're on.
Yeah.
69, how do you forget that? Come on.
I tee them up, and you hit them out.
Come on, man.
Speaking of hitting them out of the park, several folks are asking for the website for the amateur golf deal. Give the website again.
AmateurPlayersTour.com.
Okay, and you've got an app too, right?
Yeah, there's an app.
What was it?
AmateurPlayerstour.com.
AmateurPlayerstour.com. I think I can remember that.
How do you spell amateur, Bill?
Here we go.
ZQL.
Were you publicly educated, Bill?
Yeah, it shows.
This guy.
Legislation that got completely mischaracterized by our friends on the political left, so much so that it was almost, I mean, I know we're talking about serious matters, and I know we're just outside of a year away from Covenant. I'm not laughing at, but I mean, the way that they described this bill that would allow for teachers to arm themselves.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they were handing out Glocks at the first day of school, and it's just ridiculous, the mischaracterizations.
You want to visualize kids in the line at the
lunchroom. Yeah,
you get your pile of mashed potatoes, your green beans, and your Glock, and you go sit down.
It's just absurd.
No, look, this thing is been in place all over the country. There's 33 other states that already have a law similar to this in place. We're the 34th to adopt something along these lines. It's been in place in Tennessee since 2016 for distressed counties. So with my district, the 69th district, I don't have a distressed county. So that is a economic terminology.
Sure.
And all distressed counties are rural, but not all rural counties are distressed. So I've got 2 very rural counties in my district, and I'll use Hickman County as an example for why this bill might be an option that they choose at some point down the road. It's the 11th largest geographic county in the state of Tennessee. It has 2 high schools, only 22,000 people in the county, 2 high schools, one of which is 18 miles away from the sheriff's department. It's not in an incorporated city, so there's no local police or municipal police. That county, given the size and the budget that it has, usually only has 3 to 4 deputies on the road during the day. So if something were to happen at this other high school that's farther out, it may take, depending upon where those deputies are in the county, it may take 5, 10, 15, as much as 20 minutes for somebody to show up.
It's the old saying, they're minutes away when seconds matter.
That's right. And this bill allows the school system at the local level to come up, decide whether or not that is a tool in the tool belt that they want to have to allow teachers to be their own first responders in situations where, like, as you say, seconds matter.
Hangout, I want to ask you, I don't think it was I know that Gino Bolso was the original sponsor in the House of Representatives, but I think you voted for the flag bill.
Oh, yeah, I was 100% in favor of that.
And it is inexplicable to me how this thing fell apart in the Senate, but I want to ask you if you have any insight on that, plus a few other matters, plus some of our members, nutrition.com super texters are asking questions of you, and we'll ask those questions presently. It's 1:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Most of the information that you get about investing comes from people selling investment products. Imagine that, or advertising investment products, or the media, and they typically interview people that do those 2 things. It's very little education that you're getting when it comes to investment. Education is so important, and Paul Winkler understands that. It's why he has a 3-hour radio show on the weekends to educate you on investment and the whys of what you do, not the hows. When you think of hiring a contractor, you typically look at how good of a job they do for somebody else. The problem is, with investment markets, they go up and down, and that's a difficult task. I know that I'm comfortable with Paul as my investment strategist because, well, I sit down with him. I talk with him. He explains to me why we're doing the things that we're doing. Now, obviously, when I talk about him on the radio, I get paid to do so, and I am proud to talk about Paul Winkler because I'm not only a spokesperson, I am also a client, and I feel educated as a result. Only a small fraction of the people in the financial industry are degreed planners. At Paul Winkler, every office is run by one. Call today at 615-851-1950. 615, I should say, 851-1950 or paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pardon me, I'm giggling a little over something that someone on the membersnutrition.com super text line has requested that I ask of Jody Barrett, representative of the 69th district.
Was it Jason?
No, wait a minute. Hold on. No, I believe that.
If it was Jason, it was probably too dirty to ask him.
No. It wasn't Jason, but someone said, someone wanted to know, oh, gosh, I've lost it now. No, here it comes. Ask Jody, 8749. Ask Jody why he's such a racist. I heard Justin Jones. He said he was. Is that now? Obviously, this super texter is joking around,
Sure.
Reflecting on the fact that you have to deal with Justin Jones, and Justin Jones is by definition, if everything, it's that old. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie This Is Spinal Tap.
Oh yeah.
But this one goes.
We're the same age.
Oh yeah, that's true. This one goes to 11.
Yes.
Yeah, this goes to 11. This goes to 11, and I have long said that the media, with the media, everything Trump did went to an 11, and if everything's an 11, nothing's an 11.
Right.
Right. So with Justin Jones, he reminds me of that scene from This Is Spinal Tap. Everything's an 11 with this dude.
Right.
And everything goes to racism.
Sure.
And I don't know how you guys deal with it.
For the most part, we just tune it out. I mean, we try to as much as possible. And I'm as guilty as anybody for occasionally turning around and firing a few lobbies back across the aisle because we only sit a couple of rows away from each other. But the old adage that if you wake up every morning when you leave your house and all you do all day is run into a-holes, that maybe you're the a-hole. So if all you do is run into racists all day every day, maybe you're the racist.
Maybe so.
It never ceases to amaze me that the people that are so worried about other people's skin color are the ones that accuse everybody else of worrying about skin color.
Well, but if you guys would if you Republicans, you mean old supermajority Republicans would just let the Democrats speak and have a voice. Oh, wait. We went over this last week.
Right.
11 and 2024 has not come out yet, but I did the 2023 numbers where, Justin Jones claimed that somebody else called him boy. He's on record as calling someone else boy. I mean, he does all of these things that he claims others are doing to him, and he claims that he doesn't get an opportunity to speak. And we pulled the numbers, and out of the top 12 speakers in the House of Representatives, 11 of them are Democrats.
Right.
And the only one that's not a Democrat is William Lamberth, who is the House majority. He is there to manage the floor and to facilitate the speaking. So I don't know what they're talking about when they're. I mean, you in the supermajority seem to be bending over backwards to just let them talk themselves out, let them have their say, let it go, and then vote.
So a little inside baseball, and I won't name names on this particular, but there is a certain party of the Democrat member of the Democrat Party that has mentioned to me on multiple occasions that they have asked the speaker to stop calling on the Justins right off the bat. Because they're the first or the second person with their hand up on every bill. And they're like, look, if you would just stop calling on them as much, they suck all the air out of the room. And then the rest of us that have actual legitimate questions to ask, we can't get to them because by the time they're done, you guys are sick and tired of listening to it and you call the question and we move on. Of course, the speaker doesn't have really that option. He just goes by the hands that he sees. When a bill gets called up, everybody throws their hands up, and he's making his notes. And
well, that's what the Democrat caucus is for. That's what the Democrat minority leader is for. That's what
right.
The head of the Black caucus is for. Is that if y'all feel like he's not best representing 52 or your party, that's up to y'all.
And look, I'll be honest with you. I'm a little. I think everybody was relieved to adjourn when we did, but I would have liked to see us go just another week or maybe two, because there was some serious infighting going on.
Well, and you're right about that, but there's no question he decided he wasn't, his hissy fits and tantrums were not getting the attention that he desired.
That's right.
And I do not believe that for him it's anything other than that. He wants attention.
And the guy that sits behind him was getting a little bit more attention than he was.
Oh, there you go. Enough about that. Let's stop giving him attention. Let's talk about this flag bill.
Yes.
It seemed fairly straightforward. We had Representative Gino Bolso on. I think you're a supporter of it. You voted for it in the House.
Oh, yeah.
It would just kind of reassert through Tennessee law what flags are permissible in public education settings and what are not, where you can go and where you can't. It seems obvious to me that we're trying to prevent overly politicized paraphernalia, insignia, symbolism within the public education classroom on any side of the issue.
Yeah.
Yet the Senate didn't see it this way. Where was the disconnect?
Unfortunately, we just mentioned my obscenity bill, and we mentioned another bill from a couple years ago dealing with pornography. It's kind of the same cast of characters in the Senate that were, missing the boat on this deal. Some of the same folks that were voting no on the flag deal have been kind of, obstructionists on some of the other things that we've tried to accomplish on the House side. So, I honestly cannot fathom what the issue is here, because I watched this bill and worked with Representative Bolso from when he originally filed it. I went immediately down to his office and said, "Hey man, I want to sign on as co-sponsor," and then watched as this thing started evolving as he made different amendments to it through the committee process to really clean it up and narrow the focus on what he was trying to accomplish. And by the time that thing got to the floor, it was a really good bill. And sure, you can poke holes at anything. Like you say, you can pick nits all you want to. But at the end of the day, what we had passed, there's no reason that shouldn't have passed on the Senate side.
So,
in my personal opinion.
A birdie tells me, and you're an attorney by trade, a birdie tells me...
Don't hold that against me.
Well, no. I mean, my good friend Jay St. Clair tells me weekly, attorneys got to eat too.
That's right.
That the age, as it started carving out the exceptions, that there were people, and I won't speak for like the Attorney General's office because I've not talked to Jonathan Skrmetti about this, but there was concern amongst the Senate. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, Jody. There was concern amongst the Senate that it would be difficult to defend when it was litigated by certain groups. You know that the LGBTQ community is going to immediately file a lawsuit on this.
Sure.
To which my response was, so what?
Big deal.
They're gonna file a lawsuit one way or the other.
Right.
Let's go.
Sure.
This is a hill that we're willing to fight on.
And there are certain things like this issue that we need to get into court. We need to get new precedent in place. If the law never got changed in Alabama, we would have never had a vehicle to take up and challenge Roe. So at some point along the way, as a legislature, we have to look at the landscape and how it has changed and say, okay, now's the time for us to push back on this and let's see what happens.
We did it with child rapists, right?
Of course.
I mean, obviously we did. And so, and while I did not, I had a conversation this morning and I didn't bring up that legislation. I wish I had, because now it occurs to me, we passed the bill offering the possibility of the death penalty for the most egregious child rape cases in Tennessee, knowing that there was a Supreme Court decision, knowing that this would go immediately to court. That's the point.
Correct.
Get it into court and let's relook at this and determine whether or not it was rightly decided some 40 years ago.
That's exactly right. And that's why this bill in particular, it's so frustrating to see folks in the other chamber kind of sell out before we even get on. They're forfeiting the game before we even take the field. And as a lawyer, again, I kind of had the same mentality on the F&E discussion as well. I voted against the final version of the F&E tax just because I didn't understand giving money back before there was ever a lawsuit filed. And so on this situation, I don't understand why we're giving up without rolling it out there. Let's see what happens when we get in the court. The lawsuit's not the worst thing ever. It's not the end of the world.
Well, no, just Dobbs v. Jackson.
Correct.
Right? I mean, these are the types of things that we're talking about. Anything else I'm missing that you're happy they got through, or, as we kind of put a lid on the session that was, it's the completion of your first session?
Yeah.
Everything you expected?
Oh, and then some, I think, yeah. I think most of us as freshmen decided after the first wild session that we went through that we were no longer freshmen. So.
How many times Rich give you crap about something?
Honestly, only one time. You and I have had a discussion about that vote on the expulsion hearings, and that's really the only time that he and I had, any type of
what do he do? What do you do? He give you the old "What are you doing?"
Yeah. WTH, what's going on here, guys? And so, in very similar conversation that you and I had, once I kind of explained, hey, here's what happened on the floor that none of y'all know about, and here's the discussions that were had, and this is my mentality and how I reached the decision I reached. Everybody's like, oh, okay, well, let's figure out how to make this work.
Mr. Bell?
Do you have any legislation that you have in the back of your head that you're looking at bringing up next session?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different things. I've got a good friend of mine that owns and operates a temp agency, and he came to me late in the session to talk about some of the issues in that field as it relates to illegal immigration. And it's not a level playing field right now with regards to how those companies are verifying or using the E-Verify system. And that is kind of an end around that some of the larger companies, their clients, are using to get some of these illegal or non-resident aliens in to work by kind of going around through using a temp agency that may be friendlier to that community than others. And so I think there's going to need to be some litigation that we look at to try to level that playing field and maybe increase some of the penalties for not following the law.
Were you you were a part of the 2570, right? Were you? That's the Senate side. That's the Senate number. Is this the blocking roadways bill?
Yeah, that was my bill.
That was your bill.
Yeah.
Is it not? Could we have made that illegal?
So we originally drafted it that way. So that was Senator Brent Taylor.
Explain to people what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So House Bill 2031 creates a civil right of action to sue for damages for someone that intentionally blocks a highway, street, passageway, bridge, whatever the case may be. You were mentioning the Columbia deal earlier, somewhat related in that we've seen these Palestinian protests now where they're sitting down in the middle of an interstate or the Golden Gate Bridge for 5 hours or access to the airport.
And these cosplay Nazis that came into town for whatever reason, you know, if they start blocking traffic and whatever.
No, they were on the sidewalk, but if they were to walk down into Broadway and just sit down on Broadway and block traffic or whatever the case may be, then this would give rise to a cause of action. Well, we originally drafted it to increase the criminal penalty because right now it's a Class A misdemeanor, and we wanted to raise that up to a Class D felony. That had some costs associated with it from the incarceration side of things. So if we increase the penalties, we start putting more people in jail or for longer periods of time, then that costs the state money, and that caused it to go behind the budget. Well, we get down to the budget process, and they just didn't have $250,000 to play with this year to do that. And so we decided to amend it, take that part out, leave the civil penalty in there. So now if you're a trucking company and you get dinged with a penalty or you can't deliver your contract or you lose your flight because you can't get to the airport, or heaven forbid you're in a ambulance trying to get to the hospital, like when they blocked the bridge in Memphis and we had people that couldn't get from Arkansas into Memphis to get to the airport. Now you got a cause of action that you can sue these people civilly. The good part of this, and you can talk to your friend St. Clair, ask him about the discovery process. If once you start getting into these civil lawsuits,
find out where the money's coming from.
That's right. We start connecting the dots of why are you here, who paid you to be here, and where did that money come from.
When I read about the bill, it was annoying to me at first that it just didn't become a criminal act. But then when I recognized how what you're doing might be even better.
That's right.
Because you're going to prevent these things on the front end when they recognize that they're going to expose themselves. If they come into the state of Tennessee and fund these types of activities, then those shadowy figures that fund these, I mean, there's no mistaking the George Soros's fingerprints are all over these protests that are happening nationwide. And these NGOs, these non-government organizations that are around. Once you start digging into their finances, they'll shut down their operations in these states. And that's what I love about this.
There are puppeteers out there that are directing all of this. There's a giant orchestration of what's going on. And these civil lawsuits, the discovery process, if we can get into financial records and start connecting the dots, we can get, it's just like a drug case. The dealer's just not the real person that you're worried about. You want to go to the distributor. You want to go to the person that's buying, get to the dealer, and then get from them to the distributor. Same thing on these cases.
Jody, great hour with you. Thanks, man, for everything you've done over the last couple of I assume that you'll be running for re-election?
I am running for re-election. JodyBarrett.com/donate.
Hey, have we found a good candidate to run against this guy yet? I mean, we want to sharpen him up for the future.
Not you.
I thought you were running for.
Not you.
I thought you were running against him.
What was the website again? Amateur what?
AmateurPlayersTour.com.
Okay,
that's the much more important website. That website's far more important than Jody Barrett for whatever.com.
/donate.
See you, buddy. There's Jody Barrett. We'll be back with your thought. And look, a lot of people are waiting to talk about Kristi Noem. God bless you, Chris and Jimmy and Andy. Y'all have waited so long. Just give me a couple of minutes. We'll get right to you next on Super Talk.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
A promise made and a promise will be kept in the final hour of the show. I'm opening up the phones to all of you. Andy has been so gracious with his time. God bless you, Andy. He's held for a long time. I told you you would need to hold if you had comment on the Kristi Noem story. Governor Kristi Noem says in her new book that is yet to come out that she killed a dog because, she couldn't train the dog and it was untrainable and it was all over the joint and it killed a chicken. So she killed a dog. And a lot of folks have reaction to this. And we'll start with Andy and Jimmy and Chris and get to you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Plus, all of these protesters across America sitting on college campuses screaming, "Free Palestine." What does that mean? What does that mean? What would it take for those chanting "Free Palestine" to say, "Yay, we did it, we did it"? I think I have an idea. I'm going to share that idea with you in just a moment. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, folks, Matt Murphy. The Glock Store is my one-stop shop for all things Second Amendment. Whether it's a handgun, a long gun, perhaps I'm in the mood for accessories, magazines, and the like, ammunition. Maybe I need some training. They have shooting rooms at the Glock Store. You can find out more at shoot270.com or glockstore.com. Now, mark this down on your calendars. For June 1st, we've got the big 4th annual open house with thousands upon thousands of dollars being given away in the form of various prizes, including a $1,700 Glock. You heard me correctly. Man, oh man, I'm excited about this, although it is my distinct understanding that employees of the radio station cannot win, which I'm kind of bummed out about. But if you're not an employee of the radio station, you can win and you can be there. June 1st, starting at 10 a.m. I'll be there. Chris will be there. Dan Mandis will be there. They've got all manner of deals and giveaways happening, but don't wait. If you just got to go, you got to go. Don't let the month of May get by before getting out to the Glock Store. Just off of Elm Hill Pike on Air Lane Drive, minutes away from the airport, minutes away from the sound of my voice, glockstore.com or shoot270.com. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway. Final hour getting underway right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being out there. We are we're getting right to it, as many of you have held on for some time. You know, we spent the better part of the Libertarian lunchtime hour discussing, two main issues. One, the protest on college campuses around the United States of America and what all that means. And number two, this deal that popped over the weekend involving Governor Kristi Noem and her decision to write about in a new book that is coming out, her decision to kill a dog. And I offered you my take on it. And if you missed it, I'm happy to offer it to you again. I grew up around hunting dogs. My grandfather, he lived on about a little over an acre of property, but we had a lot of hunting land with his relationships that he built over the years as a mechanic. Earth-moving equipment, Caterpillar earth-moving equipment and different types of logging equipment, skidders and whatnot, grassing equipment. He knew a lot of people with a lot of property, and we had the opportunity to hunt on that property, and we had a lot of hunting dogs. 3 in particular in my youth that were bird dogs, as you would call them, Joe, Bob, and I was telling Belle during the first hour, Satan. That's what, I don't know, my brother named Satan. Satan was a Labrador Retriever. Bob was something of a spaniel, and Joe was a pointer.
What was it that motivated him to name the dog Satan?
I think my brother.
Yeah,
he's black like the devil.
That was it.
Satan was bad. Satan was rambunctious. Satan would dig out of the pen. You know, the dogs were kept in a pen in the backyard. Obviously, they had dog houses inside of the pen. Satan would regularly dig out of the pen. He wouldn't mind. I mean, Satan, in my mind, when I think of Kristi Noem's stupid dog that she decided to shoot, I think of Satan.
So your brother shot him?
My brother did not shoot him.
Did not shoot him. Okay.
Did not shoot him.
Why didn't he shoot him?
I don't, you know what, bad dog owner.
Why wouldn't he shoot him?
Because my brother's a crappy dog owner. That's why. Any responsible human being would have shot the dog in the head and left it for dead.
It's not like he didn't have enough guns. Oh, wait, that's now. Never mind.
I mean, guys, this was not Old Yeller, which is what a lot of defenders of Kristi Noem seem to. I mean, and I'm not begrudging you if you think a little bit differently than I do about this, but this ain't. I'll do it. I'm pulling up Old Yeller. I'm pulling. Spoiler alert: Old Yeller dies.
Spoiler alert: the kid shoots him.
You know why? Remember that scene? Have you seen it?
He got rabies.
I'll do it, Ma. Yeah. I mean, oh God, it'll tear your guts out. It tears your guts out. It should tear your guts out. And it should have torn Kristi Noem's guts out. And she didn't write about it like it did. And that's the point.
What's amazing, though, is in that final scene, you never see the dog.
No.
In the final scene.
No, they're smart enough.
But they don't show you any of it. And it still just absolutely devastates you.
The kid, when I hesitate even saying the line while I'm here on radio because I'll start crying. But the line, I'll do it, Ma, he's my dog. And he just saved them. Just saved them. All right, so many of you want to speak, and many of you have been holding a long time to do so, and I appreciate that. We were very upfront. That last hour was going to deal with state politics, so I thank all of you who have made the decision to hold on, like Andy out of Mount Juliet. Andy, you're up. The floor is yours, sir.
Hey, man, that wasn't no problem holding. I'm just driving a dump truck. I can listen to you on my Bluetooth as easy as I can on the radio.
Love it, man. Love it.
But, you know, what you talking about, Kristi, really hit home. Well, you was just a baby back in 1978 when a friend of my parents had a German Shepherd pup that was killing his chickens. And he calls me and he says, Andy, you got 10 minutes, come over and get this dog or I'm going to kill him. Because he knew I loved that pup. So I went over and got him. Saved his life once. Great dog. But then he whooped the Dobermans behind in the neighborhood over the kids. So I was fixing to get married, and my mom said, you going to put him down? I said, no, I'm giving him to somebody else. And he lived 10 more years out in the country where he belonged to start with. There's reasons to kill a dog, but not just because they're a nuisance. You can give them away. You can do something.
I mean, yeah, look, you got options. And she had options. And all I want to know, and what I said over the weekend that got everybody's panties in a wad on social media was simple. Just explain to me, if you're Governor Kristi Noem. I mean, I didn't bring any of this up. She brought it up. And for those of you out there going, oh, why are you talking about this? This happened 20 years ago. She wrote about it, man. I didn't write about it. Did you not understand how people are going to react to this? Conservatives and libertarians and liberals alike. This isn't about politics. It's about kindness and what constitutes animal cruelty and what's not. Look, I'm a big boy. I understand that bad crap can happen on a farm, and I understand with a farm dog or a working dog, things can get out of control, and I understand what happens when those things happen. But this, look, the facts matter, and she laid out the facts. I didn't lay out the facts. I'm not making this up. It's her words as to what happened. And my point is simple. Just explain to me why you did not choose the many other options that you had. That's all I want to know. Just explain why you just didn't give the dog away. Just explain to me why you felt it was necessary to kill it. It wasn't actively attacking anything. It had killed a chicken and it bit. I think she said that when she was getting it off the chicken, it bit somebody. Her, I think. Okay. That's all. Just explain why you needed to kill it. We know it was a working dog. I know you also named it. I mean, according to you, your kid asked about it when she got off the bus. Where's Cricket? Oh, we had to shoot Cricket, honey. In the head. Blood spurted everywhere. Brains everywhere. That's farm life, baby. Go play. I mean, Jimmy is right after Chris. Jimmy, you just got beat out by a minute or two. Chris is next in Dixon. Chris, thank you for your patience. How are you?
Just fine.
Yeah, what's up, Chris?
I was just calling about the dog.
Yes, sir.
My opinion is, most time when a dog has a bad nature, it don't tend to leave them. It just stays with them. And, if you give the dog away, you could be giving somebody else the same problem that you had. And, as many babies die every day from abortion, y'all are so worried about a dog's life. I don't understand that.
Okay. I mean, do you want me to explain it to you?
Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, it's just a dog. Sure. Okay. I mean, I understand that you feel that way. I'm not going to argue with you about it. Well, I don't understand why. Do you know what my position is on abortion, Chris?
Yeah.
Well, then why are you bringing that up to me?
Why are y'all bringing up the dog? I mean, there's no big deal about it. It's a dog. It's gone. It's over with. I mean, why not focus on something that matters? I mean, I don't know.
Down to hell with animal cruelty. No big deal.
I mean, if the dog bit a person and a chicken, it's liable to bite somebody else. I mean, my thing is, what's the big deal about it?
Have you ever killed a dog, Chris?
No, I haven't. I've had a few dogs that I really care about.
How in the world have you lived this long without killing a dog? No big deal, right?
I mean, if the dog was killing chickens and biting people,
killed one chicken, according to her. I mean, I'm just trying to keep the facts straight. I know a lot of people want to add a lot more to this story than she has related.
I haven't added nothing to the story. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, you said you said the dog killed chickens.
Well, a chicken.
Oh, okay. Okay, well,
if the dog killed a cow, would that have made a difference? Is a cow better than a chicken? I mean.
Yes. A cow is more expensive, has more value than chicken on a farm. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. It's all about money then?
No, it's not all about money. It's about character. Chris, let me just throw it. So, if you were getting ready to kill your dog, right, because your dog killed a chicken, and then when you were trying to get the dog off the chicken, the dog bit you, and you're like, "To hell with that! I'm killing the dog. When I get home, I'm killing the dog." And I was with you, and I said, "Chris, don't kill the dog. Let me take the dog." What would you do?
I would let you take it because that would be your problem then, not mine. But, you know.
Well, wait a minute. At the beginning. Wait a minute, Chris. Wait a minute, Chris. Wait a minute. At the beginning of our call today, you said, well, you can't give the dog to somebody else because you're giving your problem to someone else. Didn't you say that?
Yeah, I did say that. But if you're willing to accept that problem and you know about it, fine. But as far as I'm concerned, the dog's not going to be around no more, especially if I've got kids and all.
And I mean, no big deal. I mean, look, it's your position. To hell with the dog. To hell with it.
Well, I mean, most dogs, you're not going to train the bad nature out of them. They're born that way, and I mean,
you remember Michael Vick?
Yeah.
Football player? You know, the whole dog thing. He went to jail for dog fighting?
Yeah.
By the way, what's your position on dog fighting? Do you care?
I'd rather not do it. I mean, I don't think it's right, but.
Should it be illegal?
Yeah, it should.
Okay. Well, they rehabilitated every one of those dogs. Did you know that? They rehomed every one of those dogs.
Okay, they may have, but I'm sure a few of them got that bad nature, and it's probably
and you got to kill those. I'm not a Pollyanna. If a dog is an aggressive or vicious animal and you attempt to rehabilitate the dog, then you put the dog down. That's what you do.
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't see rehabilitating a dog. I mean, they got a bad nature, and that's it.
Yeah, I just gave you a real world example that dogs in the worst circumstances imaginable were rehabilitated.
Do you know what's happened with those dogs? You got any updates or anything?
I'm happy to give you an update if you'd like. I mean, look, once again, Chris, I'm honestly not here to make enemies about this issue. Your position is to hell with the dog. My position is if you have a different opportunity outside of pulling the trigger and splattering his brains all over the gravel pit, maybe that's the choice you should make.
Well, I mean, if my dog bit me, no matter the circumstances, I'm taking him down.
Doesn't matter what.
I mean, most dogs kill a chicken. You come home and another chicken's going to be dead.
Okay.
Next day, another chicken's going to be dead. Next day, something else is going to be dead. I mean,
I know. I mean, no, I get it. And I mean, she killed a goat same day too. So she was just kind of cleaning house.
Well, I mean, that's her business, I guess. But I mean. Just all the bad things in the world, why is everybody worried about a dog so bad that was killed? I mean, I just don't understand it. I mean, if human life is gone every day, and nobody, some people care, but it's like sometimes a dog will be brought up in a bigger deal than a baby,
Well, you will not see me comparing a dog to a baby or a baby to a dog.
Just use your time to do something other than talk about a dog that somebody killed that bit them. And, maybe try to talk about the babies that get killed every day.
We talk regularly about abortion on the show, Chris. If I talked about abortion if I talked about abortion every day, I would not exist on the radio. I'm just telling you that if I talked about abortion for 3 hours a day, my ratings would be such that I would be removed from the radio. And we talk about different topics. We talk about water cooler things. We talk about subjects that are up in the news. And you are welcome to talk about anything that you want. And I'm trying not to argue with you. I have a different position about this than you do. I know that people that show a predisposition to abusing animals show a predisposition to abusing human life as well. I know that to be the case.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like this much talk over somebody killing a dog that bit them is just useless, I think. It's a waste of time.
Well, Chris, you've made that point 5 times now, yet you have not brought up another subject.
Well, that's what I called about. I didn't call about another subject.
You don't see the...
That's what y'all were talking about all morning. I just give
No, bro, that wasn't what we're talking about. For an hour, I talked about the results of the General Assembly with Representative Jody Barrett. While you waited on hold to bring the dog back up that you say we shouldn't be talking about.
Well, I was just giving my opinion.
Dude, I'm glad you did. I don't mind talking about it. You're the one that's bothered that we're talking about it.
It should have been even a big deal to begin with, but...
she just shot a dog, and, she just shot a dog, whatever.
Just shot a dog that bit her,
Whatever. Where did you see that it bit her?
I heard y'all talking about it bit her. You said it.
I don't know that I need to read that. I don't know that she actually said that it bit her. I think she said that it bit someone. She said that it bit. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you.
She was trying to get off the chicken. The dog bit her.
I'll go back and read this, Chris, verbatim for you because you don't want to talk. Look, Chris, I don't want to argue with you about it. I don't. I've stated my position on it. You don't give a rip about the dog. To hell with the dog. This dog was not actively attacking anybody else, but she decided to shoot it and kill it. That is her predisposition. I'm telling you this, there are far more people that are bothered by this than aren't.
I wonder how many abortions have happened during the show that we weren't able to stop because we didn't have dogs to kill.
Yeah. I was trying to find...
Could have stopped all those abortions if we just killed a dog, but we didn't because we don't care about anything.
It's funny. We're relying on a lot of snippets and anecdotes from the book, and the book's not even out yet. 22 after the hour. Let me get to Jimmy real quick. Jimmy's been holding for so long, and I want to get his thought in on this. Jimmy, thank you for your call.
Chief Jimmy here.
What's up, Jimmy?
Well, you probably know me as...
Mr. Jimmy. I know you, Mr. Jimmy. You don't have to tell me who you are. I know you by voice.
Yeah, RC and Moon Pie James. I've had a lot of dogs. Matter of fact, I used to be a breeder of when we got poodles. And before that, with my first wife, I had a bunch of beagles. down in Mississippi. But the poodles I've got, she died 6 years ago. She called all them poodles. She didn't want to sell them or get rid of them. But I sold maybe 10 or 12 of them. We had 6 left. I had them all fixed. And she called them her babies. 4 of them slept on a bed with her before she died. And I've got a pet cemetery out in the backyard. I probably got 4 of them buried out there. The other 3 I still got, but they're all 15, 16, 17 years old, fixing to die probably soon.
Yeah, when they get up that age, Mr. Jimmy, you know that it's about time. Mr. Jimmy, speaking of time, I just looked at the time, and I appreciate your patience with me, and I appreciate your call. I've got to scoot. It's 24 after the hour. Yes, sir.
Hey, real quick, do you mind if I kill a puppy? I know it's off days, but
every time you do that,
I just killed a puppy, folks.
Every time you do that, a puppy dies. I have the answer. The dog, she said the dog killed a chicken and then attacked another chicken. And then when she went to try to grab the dog off one of the chickens, the dog whipped around to bite me. She doesn't say the dog bit her. I'm just reading from the excerpt according to The Guardian. She said, when Noem finally grabbed Cricket, she says the dog, quote, whipped around to bite me. Then as the chicken owners wept, she apologized, wrote the shocked family a check for the price they asked, and helped them dispose of the carcasses, littering the scene of the crime. She said that through it all, Cricket was the picture of pure joy. I mean, you're training the dog to be a hunting dog. I mean, aren't you kind of training the dog to not like chickens, birds? Anyway, I hated that dog, Noem writes, adding that Cricket had proved herself untrainable, dangerous to anyone she came in contact with, less than worthless as a hunting dog. At that moment, she said, I realized I had to put her down. And she did. 615-737-9986. We've got to do this. It's 226 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy. Savory Spice has some incredible blends for you this spring into summer that I need to tell you about. You know, I told you, and I have been telling you, that Savory Spice is all about helping that amateur, if you will, in the kitchen. If you are new to the kitchen, if you're looking for a way to get better at preparing meals, then might I introduce you to the Savory Spice and Easy meal starter kits, providing all of the spices that you need to make delicious meals like Mediterranean dill risotto, tomatoes and spice and everything rice. They tell you exactly what you need to purchase in order to make these meals, and they give you all of the spices that you need. They have buttermilk ranch dressing, which is absolutely delicious. I've had that for myself. Korean barbecue pork is another example of what they're providing. Taco soup, yet another example. The taco soup, for example, I mean, it's everything you can imagine. The ingredient list is right there. Your shopping list is right there on the front of the package, and all of the spices are available for you. It makes things so easy. If you're busy and you don't have time to prepare those meals that you've wanted to prepare for your family, Savory Spice has an answer for you. The Spice and Easy lineup of spice mixes available exclusively at Savory Spice. Go by and see them. Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy, L&L Market in Nashville. It's the one and only Savory Spice. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice. Tennessee Men's Clinic can help you with energy levels. Gentlemen, are you feeling sluggish or run down? Do you get that, it's 2:30. Do you get that 2:30 feeling? Actually, it's 2:31. Do you get that 2:31 feeling in the afternoons? Maybe it's because you don't have the energy that you once had, and maybe that's naturally occurring situation in your body that you need to know about. I mean, I'm talking T levels. I'm talking other levels within your body. You need to know your numbers, man. And if you don't know your numbers, let's find them out. If you don't feel like going to the gym, if you don't feel like working out in the yard, if you don't feel like bedroom activity, or if you've been, a little unable, then Tennessee Men's Clinic wants to talk to you. Allow them to help you. The biggest complaint that we get once you get in with Tennessee Men's Clinic, why didn't I do this sooner? Don't be that guy. Let's go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com and handle this situation. Let's handle our business, men. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or 615-208-9090, 208-9090. Craft Body Scan has an incredible deal coming up this May, and it's so good, I just need to tell you about it in advance. I mean, it's just so good, I need to go ahead and tell you. Imagine a world where diseases are caught in their infancy before you become symptomatic. Like breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, all of those three were once very menacing adversaries, but we're facing a significant decline in mortality rates for those three thanks to early detection. May is National Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and Craft Body Scan is offering a 20% off all cancer screenings right now. Craft Body Scan plus an extraordinary deal. Now, this is coming up in the month of May, so I'm a little in advance, but go ahead and schedule your appointment for May, and you'll get this deal for your couple's heart and lung scan. I talk about this opportunity often. It's now just $119. That's 96% off their regular price and well off the going rates at other places. CraftBodyScan.com or call 615-436-1000 to schedule your scan today. CraftBodyScan.com or 615-436-1000. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'll do it, Ma. He's my dog. Apparently, at the end of all of this, after Kristi Noem had not only killed the dog, and she did this in front of like some construction workers at her home on the farm. when she shot the dog, she realized, hey, while I'm doing this, I got another unpleasant job that needs to be done. And so she also owned a male goat that she called nasty and mean because it had not been castrated. And she said the goat smelled disgusting, musky, and loved to chase her children, knocking them down.
Smelled like a goat.
So, no. Literally, Kristi Noem describes a goat. That the goat was ornery and mean, smelled bad, and loved to chase Noem's children and knock them down and ruin their clothes. So she decided to kill a goat for being a goat. And she did. Killed the goat the same way she had just killed Cricket the dog, dragged him into a gravel pit. The goat jumped when she shot, so she hit him, but the goat survived, so she had to go all the way. She didn't have a backup shell. Had to, rookie move. Had to go all the way back to her truck and retrieve another shell for her shotgun, hurried back to the gravel pit and put him down. At that point, she said, she realized a construction crew had watched her kill both animals. The startled workers got back to work, she writes, only for the school bus to arrive and drop off her children. Kennedy looked around, and I suppose Kennedy is one of her children. Kennedy looked around confused and said, hey, where's Cricket? I don't know what happened after that. I suppose she told her daughter to go look in the gravel pit. Time to learn a few things about the farm, I suppose. Aaron is next. Hello, Aaron.
How you doing today?
I'm well. I hope you are, Aaron.
Oh, not bad. So I just wanted to make a comment. I've got 12 dogs, ranging from 40-pound pit bulls all the way up to 220-pound Newfoundlands.
Wow.
A couple weeks ago, we just had one of our cane corsos go into heat, and our male cane corso decided he was going to try and get into it with our black lab through a fence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I grab him by the collar. I mean, any dog owner knows this. I grabbed him by the collar to separate them, and once they're in the zone, you know that chance that you're going to get bit.
Yeah, they're going to whip around and bite you.
Exactly. They're not expecting it. It doesn't mean that they mean to do it, but that's not a reason to put it down. I mean, to the beginning of last year, me and my wife went on a cruise, and we had someone house sitting. We had over 120 chickens, and we get a call about 3 days into our cruise from our neighbors saying half of our chickens are dead because she wasn't feeding our dogs. I mean, we still have the same dogs. We just got rid of the chickens.
Well, I hear you. I mean, I remember I've told the story about driving home from a hunt, and I was in the back of the truck, and the truck was covered, and we had all three of them. We had Joe, Bob, and Satan. And Joe and Satan got into a little dog scrape, and I tried to get into the middle of it to break it up, and Joe kind of whipped around and hit me on the hand, bit me on the hand. And my grandfather, when all was said and done, I screamed, and he stopped and got me back in the front of the truck and asked me what happened. And I told him, he said, well, you got in the middle of a dog fight. That's what's going to happen to you. You need to stay out of that. There was another time, and when Bob was trying to get at another animal and tried to get through me and nipped me in the process, and my grandfather didn't kill Bob. I mean, he saw what was going on, and he reacted. I mean, I don't know. I'm surprised at the number of people that, and I guess, and thank you for the call. I guess it's because Kristi Noem is an up-and-comer. I mean, she's a conservative rock star. I get all of those things. I like Kristi Noem, or at least I did. I just don't understand why there were other options. And we can pretend like there weren't. There were. And her decision was to kill the 14-month-old dog, who was still a dog is a puppy until about 2 years, or at least an adolescent until about 2 years. That has been my experience, and I've had dogs since I can remember. But there was an aggressive nature. She didn't like it, and instead of deciding to take it somewhere else, instead of deciding to put it to a trainer or to take it to a shelter or to take it to someone else who was willing to handle it, she decided to kill it. And it's up to each and every one of you to decide how you react to that. I don't think we should react to it first and foremost by saying, well, why are we going after Kristi Noem? She's a good conservative. This is not about her conservatism. It's not about her political ideology. It's about her character. And frankly, it's a lot about how you feel about dogs. I do not look at dogs. I understand that they work for families, and I understand that there's a difference between a farm dog and what we would consider to be a family pet. There's also a matter of kindness and just a general humanity toward these types of things that I just can't get past. Pam is next in Nash. Hello, Pam.
Hello. So real quick, I grew up on a 1-acre working farm in the rural area of Louisiana. And we had everything on there except for the cows, and they came visiting in the middle of the night. But we had goats that were mean. We had geese that were mean. We had chickens that only liked my daddy and were mean to the rest of us. We had a dog that was not, we had a dog that would not behave. My dad said, okay, you just cannot live here anymore, and found a new home. The only time I ever remember any animal, like saying, like he put down, was one of our dogs. He was 14 years old, not doing very well healthy, and my dad said, and it killed him to do it. Because, King was our pet. King was was a great Doberman pinscher. I mean, he was awesome. And it killed him, And I think you just said it right. Why are we talking about this? Now, her political views, I don't care one way or the other. She's not on my radar at all. But it's character. And this is what disturbs me even more. You know that there was an editor saying, you know what, maybe you shouldn't put it in there. And she's like, no, let's put it in there. And she's okay with this. That's what is more disturbing to me. She is okay with not teaching her children about, hey, these are the way the animals behave. Don't get in front of the goat. They're going to hit. They're going to bump you. She's a farm, but she's not teaching her children. But yeah, she's okay to brag about this. That's what disturbs me more. It speaks volumes to her character because if it happened once, it's happened before. And it's probably happened again. And she was okay to tell hey, no, editor, no, we're going to keep that in there because I'm proud of it. Are you flipping kidding me? That's what, I think she needs therapy. I think she needs some honest to goodness, like what's going on with this check. That you are okay with, Cricket, kind of nipped here, and we got it. Here he is in the ground. No.
Well, it has struck it struck a chord with so many people that I think, and I'm not suggesting that I defend Kristi Noem here. I'm not, and thank you for your call. What I know is enough for me, but none of us have read, at least I have not read. The closest you can get to it is The Guardian, who has gotten an advanced copy of the book. And they describe the scene, and they quote a few passages. But a lot of folks seem to want to add additional detail. Oh, it was a vicious dog, and it was killing livestock. I mean, she describes it killing a chicken. And it was a farm dog. It wasn't a pet. She named it. People that grew up on farms know the difference. After Joe died, Bob died early. He had a heart disease, I think. And we gave away Satan because Satan was untrainable. Imagine that. We didn't shoot him. The last dogs my grandpa had were 3 half coyotes. A coyote had bred with a German Shepherd out on a piece of property that my grandfather worked on. or had at one point worked on. And his friend told him about the puppies that had been born of the German Shepherd. I think it was a German Shepherd female and a Coyote male. And my grandpa, there were 6 of them. He managed to corral 4. 2 died. He gave away 1, and he kept 3. The weirdest dog, half dogs, I guess. Weirdest half dogs. These were odd animals. I've never known of a dog, and I guess I shouldn't call them that because they were half coyotes. They wouldn't turn around when you whistled. It's an odd feeling where they would just walk in a direction and you nothing. Just kept going.
Normally a dog's like, what is that?
What is that? What's going on? No, there was no, there lacked that level of domestication. So, yeah, I get it. I understand. And we treated those dogs different. Those dogs, Rambo in particular, the male, when Rambo wanted you to pet him, you would know. Otherwise, leave him alone. He was a yard dog. He was there for security. Cats did not come in the backyard at all. Well, the first 2 taught the rest of them. I'm sad to say, but it's true.
Yeah.
The first 2 taught the rest that you probably don't need to come in the backyard while Rambo's on patrol. I don't know. It's fascinating to me, the differences of opinion. And there are plenty of them. John has one. Hey, John, welcome to the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk.
Hey, bud. Nice to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, listen, I would like to give you a little different opinion, a little different perspective on this. What I have gleaned from this entire conversation is the fact that she had made the comment that it was a difficult decision. Now, I've had to put animals down. I've had to kill animals, and it's an extremely difficult decision. What I get from this is that she's running for a very heavy political office, possibly the VP of the United States. There are times that our president has to make decisions to send people into harm's way, to bomb someplace to where civilian casualties might occur. That's a difficult decision. What I got from this is that she is saying, I am capable of making difficult decisions if it comes up. That's all I got, and that's all I really wanted to say about this. It's just another perspective. I get the dog thing, I really do. But I think that she was making a broader statement.
Well, I certainly hope that she, and John, I appreciate your comments and your difference of perspective on it. She recognized that this wasn't going to be necessarily a well-received story, in as much as she says at the end of it, according to The Guardian, if I were a better politician, I wouldn't tell the story here.
I just want to say that when you name a dog after the Prince of Darkness, you ought to expect what you got.
Satan was so bad, man.
And your brother kind of put that dog on the wrong path by naming him that.
I remember, y'all don't think that I grew up in a Pollyanna atmosphere. My grandfather, when Satan would dig out of the pen, and Satan dug out of the pen one night, and Pa heard it, and I remember this. Satan had gotten into one of the, he'd gotten into what we called the laundry room, which the laundry we had since built the laundry into the house. So it was just like we would load shells in that room and do a few other things. And all the camouflage was in there. A lot of the hunting supplies were in there. And the dog, I guess associated the smell and had drug out a couple of my grandpa's camouflage pants. My grandfather took that dog. I remember this. He took the dog, grabbed the dog by the collar, picked it up, and carried it by one hand, choking it out. And by the time he threw the dog over the top of the fence, which was like a wire, like 6 or 7 foot wire fence, Kaloom, and went back to bed, and Satan wasn't moving. The next morning, Satan was fine, wagging his tail, happy to see everybody. My grandpa never fixed the hole in the fence, and Satan never went out of it again. And eventually Satan was found, we found Satan a new home in the fiery pit of hell where he belongs. It's 2:51 on Super Time. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, Bell, I mentioned I took a motorcycle ride along Carthage and then eventually got to a little neighborhood called Difficult, and then that led to Defeated. And I just had a listener tell me that they have in-laws that live in both Difficult and Defeated. I guess you'd rather live in Difficult than Defeated. Let's not live in Defeated. Let's not be there. A guy that is undefeated in my estimation and a wonderful host. Actually, I should say that about Cabana Wife. To me and my wife over the weekend, Brian Wilton is with us. Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hey, this was nice having you over.
It was a great time. What a wonderful time. And no dogs were harmed in our visit.
No. In fact, they are irritating. Grogu can be irritating at times, but we've just learned to let that sort of roll off. Yeah, we're going to have to talk about Kristi Noem being in the doghouse, so to speak, at some point during the show today. What a story that is, huh?
It is, man. I mean, and it's kind of taken a life of its own. A lot of strong, emotionally charged opinions about that issue. What else is on the docket, though? I mean, they're not leaving Columbia campus, Brian. I know you're watching this breaking news story.
I'm watching it. Fox has, split screens. Columbia, where they apparently don't have any idea what to do with these protests, even though they've said 2:00, you better be gone. Well, that was an hour and a half ago, and nothing has happened. But in the University of Texas, they are throwing people in the paddy wagon. I mean, they're getting after it. So, we'll be talking about that to be sure. We got a lot of Tennessee news, but I mean, a lot of 2024 news as well. So it's a jam-packed show. And yes, we'll be taking calls about, is Kristi Noem in your doghouse after all of this. I mean, we can't avoid it. We have to have that conversation.
And it's it's a part of the discussion today around the water coolers, and it will be a part of the discussion on The Drive with Brian Wilson, no question. Brian cranks up right after Jay Harper in the newsroom, delivers a few headlines for us, and he's doing that presently. And we'll be back tomorrow for a Tuesday edition. Friends, have a wonderful afternoon. Enjoy The Drive with Brian Wilson, as I will. Hug your loved ones. We'll talk to you tomorrow at high noon. Until then, so long, everybody.